has the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Is there anyone that wishes to speak before we start the meeting?
Would you like to speak afterwards?
No. At the end of the meeting, you're welcome to speak to us in a dialogue. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Then we're going to stand up and do the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next order of business is we'll call to order the establishment of a forum. John Elkins. Here. David Ott. Here. Andrew Emmerich. Here. Ted Reinhardt. Present. Lynn Smith.
Here.
Beth Ann Holzay.
Here.
Bill Simonelli is here. And our general manager, Chuck Heel, is not here, but in his stead is associate employee Renee Dahl. I'll introduce her more in a minute. So we've established a quorum and the meeting can proceed. The first thing I'd like to do is ask for a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting of February 29, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Dave Ott made the motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Beth Ann Holzay has seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our meeting of March 13th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Beth Ann makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Lynn Smith has a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meetings are approved. Okay. Next item is the board president's report. Good evening and welcome to everyone who's attending this monthly meeting in person and virtually. I first would like to introduce Renee Dahl, sitting to my right. As you may remember, our general manager, Chuck Heel, is on vacation this week for his son's wedding. Renee is a CAM with Associa and is filling in for Chuck by taking our meeting notes tonight and making sure I don't mess up too much in my first full meeting. Since Chuck is not here, we will not have a general manager's report this month. However, I do expect Chuck's next report to include how many chicken dances he did at the wedding. Since our organizational meeting, the new board has been meeting with our various committees, and we are working to continue the good work done over the past year. Juniper is fully on board as our neighborhood landscape vendor now. During the landscape committee reports, Dave Ott will update us on their efforts these first 4 weeks into our contract. Last week's school break went relatively well with the additional security brought on for the week. The additional security focused on road patrols during the school break. Based on my conversation with Chuck Heel earlier this week, the belief is that this extra security had a positive impact. We will ask Chuck to provide a more detailed report to the community upon his return from vacation. Before I do a quick summary of today's agenda, I'd like to make 2 comments. Committee volunteers are an important part of our community. They provide Sandoval with valuable assistance to the board, allow us to utilize the various skills and talents of our homeowners, foster community engagement, and provide training for future board members. Although we are approving members of the various committees tonight, there are still opportunities for homeowners to be part of the committees. I would like to encourage all interested homeowners to look at the committees and consider volunteering some of your time. If you are interested but are not sure about joining a committee, I suggest attending a meeting or 2 of interest to you as an observer. All committee meetings are open to association homeowners. Second point I'd like to make is that neighborhood liaisons convene monthly to relay neighborhood level concerns to the board and the management company and to disseminate vital information to each street resident. I also will be looking for neighborhood liaisons to assist with the setting up of street level town hall meetings with board members to foster increased community dialogue. Our aim is to have a primary and an alternate neighborhood liaison for each street. Several streets currently lack a primary or alternate liaison. I will be sending out an email shortly listing the streets that still need volunteers to be the community reps. In addition to the standard parts of our monthly agenda, tonight's agenda will include one item under old business and 3 items under new business. Under old business, the board will be considering the quotes to connect the sidewalk on Ashbury Circle, as was requested by the board at the January meeting. Under new business, we will be considering a motion to conditionally approve the go-ahead for the Memorial Day race and consider the motion for the formation of a rules committee proposed by Andrew Emmerich. We will also approve the members of the current committees. To conclude these remarks, I would like to do a short PSA. On Monday, April 9th, a good part of North America will witness a solar eclipse. You must go way north of Florida to see the full eclipse. Here in Cape Coral, we will see about a 60% eclipse, which will reach its peak at 2:59 p.m. I am looking forward to viewing and photographing the eclipse if it's not too overcast or rainy here. It is strongly recommended that you utilize the appropriate eyewear for yourself and any family member who wishes to view the eclipse. Appropriate eyewear has to be ISO 12312-2 certified solar filter. Don't risk your eyesight to witness this incredible event without the proper eyewear. Southwest Florida is too beautiful to not enjoy clearly. And with that, we will move on to the treasurer's report.
All right. First thing I want to say is that my intent is to follow the same format that Bill followed as the treasurer. With that said, I don't have any of the 2024 numbers yet for the year. So hopefully we'll have everything up to date and I can present it next month. My intention is to have Chuck schedule a meeting with myself and Bill and whoever we need to get from Associa to find out why it's taking so long and what type of corrective action they're going to take to make sure this doesn't happen in future months. I do have a couple numbers that I can share with you. For the reserves, the PPC account has $127,052 in it, and Fifth Third has $3,510,949 in it, and the current yield is 3.35%. The current balance for Hurricane Ian is $273,638. And the only outstanding item that I'm aware of, although something else could come up, is the replacement of the clubhouse doors. And that is it for treasurer report.
Do you have any questions for the treasurer?
I just have a comment, and it's absolutely amazing to me that Monday is April the 1st, and this comment is not obviously to David, who's been baptized by fire under this, or Bill, but why our management company cannot provide us timely financials is just totally unbelievable to me. I know that you've been on that bandwagon, Bill, for a couple of months trying to get it fixed, but being that we're almost 4 months, starting our 4th month of the year, and don't have any 2024 numbers is just totally unacceptable. But I know that you're working on a game plan.
Any other comments, questions for Dave?
Renee, are you aware of similar issues with additional communities that are managed?
We have had some issues with financials. We've had a perfect storm this year. The key people were gone at the wrong time, and so on and so forth. And that's all I can say. I don't have any part in actually doing financials, so I would expect that we would have them available very soon, very soon. I don't want to say any more because I don't really have that knowledge. But from everything I'm hearing, you should have all your financials very soon.
Okay, good.
Anything?
One last quick question. How's the Fifth Third account compared to last month? That number seemed a little different to me, but I don't have last month's years.
So, Dave, I can answer that for
Yeah,
you.
'cause-
Okay. The reason why the number looks different is that the balance last month did not reflect the transfer of the Hurricane Ian funds to backfill for the already spent dollars for Hurricane Ian into the account. Okay. Yeah, so it was about a $600,000 transfer, if I remember correctly, so that's why the numbers are different. Understood. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is the violations.
Phil, I would make a motion to move forward with this particular violation and moving it to the Covenants and Violations Committee.
Do I have a second to that?
I'll second.
Dave, seconds that motion. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. 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 Any opposed? Okay. Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is old business. The item is to address the quote for extending the sidewalk Cherry Circle. Brian, could you please come up, please? Brian is standing in for Chuck to review the quotes that we have received, and then we can discuss the whether or not to proceed with that. So, Brian, please.
So we received several quotes, what were. For the concrete part of the project, we're recommending that GP Pavement Solutions, be the contractor. We also are recommending we go ahead with Juniper, for the sod and any related landscape work. That is necessary.
Okay. So, if I understand correctly, this project is to basically connect on the Surfside side of Ashbury, one continuous sidewalk from the north end to the south end.
That is correct.
That is correct. And the Juniper work is to do repair of the landscape and repair of the irrigation that is disrupted.
And replace the sod of all the rest of the sod along that stretch.
Okay.
The sidewalk.
All right. And why are you recommending D&G for the sidewalk work?
We've used them for several projects recently. They've done good work. We have their insurance is up to date. And their pricing was where we needed it to be in terms of the three vendors we had.
And likewise, why are you recommending Juniper as the vendor for restoration and irrigation?
Obviously, they're a landscape company of record. They do provide the irrigation service, which will be necessary. There was some irrigation disrupted, and it will be their sod. They're responsible to maintain it, and we felt that if we used an outside vendor, if there's just a gap that is will be between maintaining. They own it. They'll maintain it and make sure that if there's any issues with it, it is their responsibility.
Okay.
And they are on site.
Good. And then my last question is, I got to good at doing the adding up in my head real quickly. What is the total project cost that you're recommending?
Total project cost is $46,620.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? 46,000?
620.
Okay. All right. The total cost, John, is $46,620. Okay. All right. Comments? Can we start with you, Todd?
No, I have no comments. Are you would you take a motion at this point, or do you want
Well, I
comments?
think we've got to let Dave speak from a finance committee perspective.
Okay.
Okay. Beth Ann, do you have any questions?
I guess I have to wait until we take a motion.
Okay. All right. Dave, why don't you speak to it from the finance committee?
All right, but the finance committee looked at this and our recommendation as a committee is to approve it. There is money available for this project. We have money for discretionary reserves, which this will fall under. And we also have saved money on some budgeted items that came in well below the original cost. So, right now, we stand at a surplus of $37,652 from budgeted items that have already been done. And we could use that, or we could take it from the discretionary reserve.
So either way, it fits within the
It's-
envelope of the budget for 2024 from a reserve
Correct, it's
perspective.
not gonna put us over budget.
Okay. All right. All right. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the recommendation?
I have a couple questions.
Questions, David?
Brian, do we have any experience with Atlantic Southern Paving or Complex Concrete Productions or received any referral information or feedback information on those two contractors?
Yeah, both have done work on site. We had Atlantic did some concrete work, mainly grinding and a little bit of replacement, and we had a few issues with them. That final project was good, but they required a little bit of shepherding along the way in terms of a little bit of quality of their work and a little bit of cleanup. Their one site during the project was kind of a mess. And Complex, much smaller company, they did come in for the bocce project to do the cleanup on the bocce project after that debacle, and they did a decent job out there, but I'm not confident they would do a decent. They will do a decent job. They would. I don't think they're just a big. The size company.
So you think it's just to finalize it, you think it's worth us paying a premium to have DMG do the
I based on my experience with them, they will provide a quality service product.
Okay.
Any other questions before we entertain a motion? Okay. Dave, would you like to make a motion?
I make a motion and we move forward with this project for the sidewalk and sod replacement.
I second that motion.
Any discussion on the motion before we vote?
I just have a recommendation. We have a dollar amount of 46,670. I would recommend that we move that to 50 to allow for a 10% contingency just in case there's an overrun. If that's acceptable to the person who made the motion.
It's acceptable to me.
Okay. Beth Ann, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Again, I think I have to wait until this is approved before, if it's approved, for my comments.
Well, we're going to, once we vote on it, then we're done with it. So if you want.
Okay, so I just want to say that I think this is a really good example of listening to the community. But also, even though liability is a huge issue here, I just want to point out that that's just not all that it's about, but it's really us as a community caring for our other community members, the residents and other HOA owners. So yeah, I just want to point that out, and I think this is a really good thing that we're doing.
Okay. All right. Good. Before I call for the vote, I do want to make a note that the landscape committee was asked to get two quotes, one for the concrete, one for the sidewalk, and one for the lights. The light contract is taking a much longer time to get, so they probably will not be in a position to consider whether or not we would add additional lighting probably until late summer, fall timeframe. So I just want to manage expectations on that. Okay. So with that, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hands.
Consider my hand raised.
I was going to ask you, please in favor.
Yeah.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Brian, thank you for your time.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay. Moving on, the next order of business is under new business, and the first motion we will consider is being offered by Andrew Emmerich to add a new standing rules committee. Andrew, I would like you to read your motion, please.
Yes, Bill. I read this as a resolution by the Sandoval Community Association, Inc., to be referred to as the association. Whereas it is in the best interest of the association as needed from time to time to draft, adopt, maintain, review, and revise the association's governing documents, as well as its covenants, conditions, and restrictions, to be classified as the CCRs, and resident handbook. The Sandoval strategic plan, with feedback and recommendations from existing standing committees, recommended that the association establish a standing committee to organize, lead, and oversee the process of reviewing the existing governing documents, the CCRs, and the resident handbook. Furthermore, this standing committee should engage the association membership on recommended changes, propose to the board of directors any desired or needed changes or revisions, and lead any necessary amendment processes to make revisions and changes when authorized by the board of directors. Whereas this new standing committee will additionally act as an advisory committee to the board of directors, providing feedback and recommendations and advice regarding rules changes under the board of directors' consideration. Be it resolved that the association establishes a standing committee to be called the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee will consist of one voting chairperson to lead and manage the committee and 4 additional voting committee members. The chair and committee members will need to be drawn from the association membership, and all committee members must be association members in good standing. The association's board of directors will review all applications recommended for the committee and vote to approve members to the committee. In addition to the Rules Committee membership, the board of directors will appoint a board liaison to the committee. The board liaison to the Rules Committee will be a non-voting member of the committee and will only act in the role of an advisor to the committee, providing feedback to both the committee and the board of directors respectively. The Rules Committee is accountable to the association's board of directors and will be vested with limited authority to review existing governing documents, CCRs, and resident handbooks, engage the association membership for feedback and recommendations, and propose those changes to the board of directors. The board of directors will have the responsibility to vote on changes that can be made under its authority or direct the new standing committee to initiate and lead an amendment process to make revisions or changes under the amendment rules of the association's governing documents.
Okay. Do I have a second for the motion?
I'll second.
Steve, I seconds the motion. Okay. Andrew, let's start with you. Can you explain the reasons for this motion?
There are several reasons. Number one point that I think is most important is currently today when the board of directors asks committees for their feedback on rules and changes that it's considering, we often turn to the Park Committee, the Architectural Review Committee, or the Covenants Committee by which to ask for their feedback and to those proposed changes that we're looking at. I personally view both of those, having liaison to both of those committees, that those committees are more like judicial branches of our association responsible for enforcing or helping us to enforce our rules and regulations. I don't think it's appropriate when the board is considering changes to be asking the 2 committees that in the end will be responsible for enforcing or assisting us in the enforcement of those rules and existing regulations. I think it's important that we establish a committee that is more legislative, that helps us in that process, developing new rules and regulations or making changes that are necessary. 2, I think there's a second point. I think there's been often times that the board of directors has made changes or attempted to implement rules because we've run into clashes with our governing documents regarding that. A good example is our street parking rules, in which the board of directors has allowed the membership and its guests to park on the streets from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. and then prohibit it based on the documentation from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. That type of change, in my opinion, really needs to go through appropriate amendment processes, and we haven't done that. So I think it's important to have a committee that's responsible for overseeing those changes that correct or revise the governing documents so that it fits more in line with what the community is looking for. And third and finally, the feedback from the community is that it's time that perhaps we do look at some of the rules and regulations that are in place to see if today they are dated. When I mean dated is, I think some of these rules and regulations were enacted or drafted in our documents to benefit and favor the developers in here. We look at certain parking being one of those that they want to keep it in a situation where the roads were clear of traffic, clear of clutter. When marketing the property, does that meet today's needs of the community? Those are things that we've looked at. So those are three main points that I think a rules committee is important and needs to be established.
Okay. John, would you like to comment on this?
Yes, I would. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you okay.
Good. Yeah, I certainly understand the need for cleaning up the rules, making sure they're published well. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Are you sure I'm not making a problem here?
You're clear, John. You don't hear feedback.
Okay. So I do think that needs to be done, and I think the committee could do this report. I do question the need for a long-term committee because what rules are we saying we're missing now? If we correct and fix our documents that are somewhat ambiguous and update the resident handbook, once that's done, why do we need a continuing ongoing committee unless you want the committee to be some sort of oversight of the board? So I'd like to hear what problems that you're asking this committee to repair other than cleaning up the current rules.
Okay, so John, we'll park the questions so we get everybody a chance to ask their questions, and then we'll go back through those.
Sure.
Okay, Todd?
My first comment is I think this is a very good step and I support it. My first question, and I know it's been a challenge of our existing communications committee, but trying to put together our record keeping over the last 5 years has been a task, to say the least. And so I would hope that this particular rules committee's first task would be that they would take what we have, determine what we have, make sure that there's no conflicts, and then make recommendations of changes after they review it. I guess I'm hoping that would be the first step before we make any type of wholesale changes. My other final comment is our current rules or guidelines say that any changes to the declaration or bylaws need to be approved by property owners. And so I would ask any change, or what I'm asking Andrew is any changes to either of the three documents, the rules and regs, the declaration or bylaws, are you proposing that those be presented to property owners for approval?
Did you want me to wait till the end?
Can let's get all the questions and we'll go through one at a time?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Beth Ann, do you have questions?
I
Comments?
think I in somewhat agreement with Todd. Very often when we go to, I could tell you that during neighborhood rep meetings, this has come up that folks think that these rules are outdated and need to be looked at and assessed. So I think for that I think that it's not I think it will be a longstanding committee. First of all, if we're going to respect the process by getting inputs from the community. I think that's going to take a while. So I think it should be a longstanding committee.
Okay. David, questions, comments?
My only comment is I fully support it, and I think this is something that's been long overdue.
Okay. Lynn?
Ditto.
Okay.
And I think it's
Okay.
long overdue. I think no one can tell me exactly how many years or what the time period's been where some of these have been reviewed or any attempt at any change. But however, there's been discussions, maybe not board-wise, but within the community that somebody needs to look at them because there are some changes needed. So I agree to pursue exactly where Andrew wants to go.
Okay. Good. So Andrew, why don't we address Jan's question first?
John, I certainly understand your concern and I share it. I do not necessarily view the Rules Committee as a situation where I anticipate they will be proposing to us new rules on a regular basis. I think there is that concern that we have plenty of rules now that we need to look at and address, and I don't think the purpose and the drafted in my mind, I've drafted the resolution to limit that authority. The Rules Committee will act mostly as advisory to us, providing us, feedback on what they recommend changes to be. And when I say we, I mean the Board of Directors, whoever that is at the time. So they are going to make these proposals to us, as does any current committee, and the board is going to be responsible for approving those recommendations, redrafting them, revising as the board sees fit, and then add those to documents such as the resident handbook. However, I turn to Todd's point is when we do start looking at governing documents, which are completely different animals, they are ones that need to go through a heavy lifted amendment process. Yes, that amendment process by default is going to turn that feedback directly to vote by the homeowners. I apologize, and off the top of my head, I do not know if our documents state a 67% or a 75% in favor need to make some of these changes, but it is going to be a heavy lift. And to that point, John, I would turn and say that that's where we as the board would vote to require and request that the committee lead that drive, because it is certainly going to be something that's a heavy lift that we're going to need assistance with from what I view as a standing committee. That said, and I'll finish it because I probably said that said a bit too much. That said, there are probably times in which this committee will sit dormant. They will be there to provide feedback when requested, but I am not looking at this committee to become something more than we're asking it to be right now, which is provide us feedback on changes that were being requested either from a deep review by such committee or through the community's input to us.
Jan, do you have some follow-up questions on this or comments?
Well, one comment is, I think we've all looked at this, and I looked at it carefully. It shows what does it take to change the bylaw or covenant, and it requires 67% of a quorum of our total membership, and that based on our history is virtually impossible to obtain. So we need to be careful when we set expectations of what this Rules Committee is going to do.
And I view the Rules Committee as helping us in that education process with our homeowners, because I think today the assumption is we've placed these rules, as a board, we've placed these rules that they're not necessarily happy with. And I always turn back to it is these are rules that are drafted in governing documents. And in order to get those rules changed, they need to be reviewed by the community and have their input and then vote by quorum, as Todd and yourself are pointing out.
And by the way, I think we need a legal opinion as to what a quorum is.
Yes.
In the case of elections, the quorum is only required 30%. But a quorum could be a much higher percentage in the event of a bylaw or rule or covenant change.
Yeah. And ideally, I am hoping that the chairperson that we can identify and ask to help us serve may have an attorney's background. Assist us in conjunction with our association's attorney.
Can I?
Well, first, before you do, I just want to. So, Jen, anything else before I go switch to Todd?
No.
Okay, Todd, do you have follow-up?
Just a quick comment. It's now Beth Ann's committee. Strategic planning noted in its findings, I'm still in your thunder,
Go ahead.
that there was definitely a need for clear and concise rules. It's absolutely impossible to go on the website and figure out what's current, what's not. Record keeping needs to be improved. And it was also noted that a rules committee is highly recommended. So that came out of the strategic planning process. So I just wanted to make that note. Other than that, I have no other comments other than I support it. It just we just need to follow the rules of the road.
Beth Ann?
So I think when I said it's a process, that's exactly what I mean. It took us work to get all the committees together, and we finally got that, and the committee said this was something that was needed. I think we need to do the same with the community. It's not going to happen right away. It's going to be a process, and just because we do something once doesn't mean that we make many attempts. There's different ways that we can do that. We can have focus groups. There's different ways that we need to try to get the community's input in this. So,
Okay, very good. Any other comments before we call for a vote? Okay. All right, I'm going to call for a vote on this motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. John?
I, with the reservation that we watch this carefully.
Okay.
okay.
All right, so did I hear aye from you, Todd, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so passed unanimously. Thank you.
Can I make a motion?
Yes,
I make a motion that Andrew Elmerick be the liaison to this committee. He's done a lot of work.
Jesus.
So
Since you started it, you
yeah,
stuck with it?
yes.
Good luck.
Do we have a second for us to second that?
Aye.
Good luck.
You shall ask, you shall receive.
Yeah.
Like that stated to the community, I begin by imploring that you put your applications in for the new rules committee. We may have to update the application at this point. I will be looking for a chairperson and 4 voting members
Okay, very good.
with heavy lifting to do.
Should have that part, right?
Yeah. Okay. The next item of new business is a motion to conditionally approve the going ahead with the Memorial Day 5K race. I will read the motion. Whereas for the past 10 years, a Memorial Day 5K race has been conducted to raise funds for a designated local charity, utilizing Sandoval streets and association resources. And in the past 8 years, the race has been organized by Sandoval residents Al Rich and Erica Rich. Be it resolved that the association provides approval to proceed with the organizing, promoting, and conducting of the 5K race for Memorial Day 2024, contingent upon the event organizer securing a one-day event insurance policy that includes a minimum of a $1 million liability coverage, naming Sandoval as additionally insured in such policy, and a subrogation waiver in accordance with Sandoval business practices in such policy. Organizers are required to provide documentation and proof of compliance with the stated requirements for this approval to be in effect. The general manager will be responsible for informing the association board when these requirements have been met and the 5K race for Memorial Day officially is approved to proceed. Do I have a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Do we have comments on this motion?
I do.
Pat, please proceed.
Mr. Risk Management.
Hmm.
A couple of quick things is I would recommend an amendment, if possible, to the resolution to increase the minimum insurance to $2 million. This risk management thing is becoming a full-time job. Found out today that our current general liability policy does not provide coverage for sporting events. And so therefore it's an exclusion. We have an opportunity to go to a higher limit than 2 million. However, I think 2 million is fine. I did run the quote on the 1-day event insurance. It's $450. The other requirement to this 1-day insurance event policy is that all the participants must sign a release waiver. And that provides the next question on, I know that they engage, I think, the Fort Myers Track Club to put on the event. I'm sure that they have a release waiver, but it probably does not include Sandoval Community Association. So in my long-winded amendment is that I recommend that we move the liability insurance to 2 million and that we do have participants sign a waiver and a release at the day of the event.
Okay. Can I, Todd, can I add to your amendment?
You can add anything you want.
With respect to the release, I think we need to have a review of the release document. So I think the amendment is to change the liability insurance to
2 million.
2 million. And that participants must sign a release that has been reviewed by the Sandoval Association.
Well, the good news is the 1-day insurance provider provides a release that you can print.
Okay.
And so it's already formatted. So what we'll do is as we go through the process, we'll pull that particular form down. I'll have Dunker review it just to make sure that it covers all the bases for us, but we'll have something, so it will accomplish what your mission is.
Okay. So do we have a second to the amendment that Todd is proposing?
Yes, I second that.
Lynn Smith seconds the motion. Do we have any discussion on the amendment before we vote on the main motion? John, do you have any comments?
No, the only question I have is, do we have outsiders from participating in this race?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That's why it has to be treated as an outside event.
Okay. What number? Any idea?
Since I'm not a racer, I'm not sure.
I don't know, but I know it's over 100.
Can this be done prior to the beginning of the race so you don't delay the race start?
Oh yeah, you don't.
Absolutely.
When,
Will be.
yeah, my experience with events like this is you sign the release before you get your tag to go do the race.
And I totally support it.
Okay, I'd like to call for a vote on the amendment proposed by Todd. Todd, could you restate that for everybody one more time, please? Sorry.
Bill, I'm getting old.
That's just me.
We increased the liability coverage to 2 million, and we require the participants to sign a waiver at the time of the event.
Okay. All in favor of Todd's amendment to the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. The amendment passes unanimously. Do we have any additional comments on the main motion? No. Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on the main motion. We would approve the motion with the amendment.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? No? Okay, it passes unanimously. Okay. All right, the next order of new business is that we're going to go through and approve the members that have currently applied to the committees. And as I mentioned earlier, there's still opportunities for people to join. So I'm going to ask, I'll go through the list of committees and I'll ask each liaison to identify who has been applied, or in the case of if they haven't gotten their paperwork in yet, who they know will be applying, so that we can list their names and then vote on their approval. So let's start with the ARC.
ARC committee. All right.
Yes.
ARC is going to have 4 members that have already volunteered to participate on the committee in the past. Those 4 members, apologize, all order is Allison Scheiger, I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. Grady Stevens, Rob Purcell, and Martha Tubb. Those are existing members that are asking for renomination. And then in January, it was January 25th or 26th, we received a application from James Galantino, and the Marty and the committee have recommended that James join the committee and as the fifth voting member, given the vacancy that exists today.
Okay, do we have a second for that list of committee members?
I'll second.
Dave on seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Communications Committee. The members that are currently applied or on the committee are Howard Fowler, Frank Hennigan, Jessica Ott, Denise Neifeld, and Arlene Talbot. Right?
Vic.
Vic. Sorry.
Who?
We're on the list.
Vic.
I was joking. It's just testing to see if you're awake.
Okay, do I have a second for the Communications Committee?
I said that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Smith, second.
Any opposed? Okay. Covenants Violations Committee.
That's me.
Okay.
We have applications on Galantino, Bernard, Dunker, Busada, Shiger, Fishburne, and Peterson. So I would recommend those particular folks on the committee.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Okay. Social Committee, John.
The search committee chairman cannot be here today, and I asked Tom Robertson to represent that committee. I'd like him to present the names.
John,
I don't think, and let me respond to that also. I don't think I should be privy to those names because it's the board that needs to approve them. And I don't even know if any of those names on the list may not be an acceptable candidate, or might not be in good standing. So I shouldn't have a name that would be in question if they're not in good standing, because I wouldn't want to release that person's name.
Okay, so John, if you don't have the list, we can defer this to April, but that doesn't stop the social committee from working.
But the names.
Absolutely does not stop them from working.
Okay. All right. So I do have the list that was provided to us from the applications. I can go through that if you'd like.
Please.
Okay. Jack Clint, Lucy Nesto, Geraldine Tony, Alexandra Sanchez, Lori Bernard, Jeff Kocher, Tom Robertson, and Diane Robertson. Jen, are you aware of anyone else?
You have a native name there?
No.
Zambadino? She's co-chair.
Yeah.
Okay, what can you
Okay.
spell Anita's last name for me?
Z-A-N.
That's
R-I-N-D-O. Sanfordino.
D-I-N.
Yeah, okay. Okay. All right. Do I have a second for the social committee?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? No? All right. The ad hoc internet committee. We have applications from Kathy Conway, David Hiller, and Steve Cashins. Steve, there's two other names that I believe are on the list too.
Yeah, we have the previous member.
So we can make this decision. We had, in the last ad hoc committee, we had, yourself, Bill Dunker, myself, and Alice Short, who I contacted and all are agreeing to participate in this restart. Another gentleman was, I must apologize, his email keeps coming through as Bill O.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, all right. So we can vote on him next month, but so right now we're talking about Kathy Conway has applied,
Right,
David Hiller has applied. You are on the committee,
right,
Bill Dunker and Alex Short.
right.
Okay,
And who do you want to be the board liaison?
well, I was at the board liaison from last month, so,
Okay.
all right, so
Is John going to continue?
John, are you gonna continue on the ad hoc committee?
I was never on it.
He was never on it.
Okay, all right,
He was the president and vice chair.
okay.
You, Bill, you were,
And
you
the
were
last decision.
were you not?
Yes, okay, all right. All right. Do we have a second for this list?
I second.
Thank you, Lynn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, I've been looking for this for a while. Finance Committee.
All right, for the finance committee, I have Tom Robertson, Robert Haran, Debbie Ott, Beth Ann Holday, and Lynn Smith. The only thing I have to say with that is we're gonna have to work out Lynn and Beth Ann in terms of rotating until, because we have,
They kicked me out.
yeah, well, that's not gonna happen. So I make a motion that we accept these members.
All in favor? Or do I need a second, I should say?
A second.
Beth Ann seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Lakes Committee.
Right now, you only have one name listed, Madam Chairman, do you have any other names to give us tonight? We don't have. Well.
Go up to this.
You wanna address it?
So the current members have not filled out. Do they need to fill out?
They all required to fill out forms, and because I gave incorrect direction at the last meeting in March, what we are at, we're giving everybody a 2-week grace period to get their paperwork done, but we are going ahead and approving.
We can refer this after the paperwork is completed. You've got a meeting coming up that we could take the paperwork to and defer this to the April meeting.
Okay.
We can, doesn't stop the Lakes Committee from.
Right, and nothing changes,
Right.
nothing changes. I understand that, everyone, maybe but you understood that he made a mistake. Is it okay? I didn't use the word mistake, did I?
It's okay.
Okay.
We're only operating under how we did it last year, which doesn't sound like it was correct.
Okay,
Yeah, I was corrected on this about 4 days ago, so that's why I'm trying to clean up my mess. Okay.
so why don't we defer this, giving the opportunity to complete that paperwork, next week when we're together, please?
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, Landscape Committee.
All right, landscape committee, I have Pam Lippert, Lynn Berry, Sandra Kosher, Linda Duclos, and Bob Matula.
Okay, is there anyone else that's not on the list that should be on the list?
There's no one else on there that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right, do we have a second for the Landscape Committee?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Fine.
Aye.
Okay. Risk Management Committee.
Risk management, I have Donna Dunker, Will Dunker, who's obviously Bill's younger brother, Ruthie Shiger, and Craig Snyder, excuse me.
Okay. All right. Do we have a second for the Risk Management Committee?
I second that.
Okay, Lynn Smith seconds that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Safety and Security Committee.
At this time, James Galantino, Jay Salvo, and Christine Peterson as the chair have completed the paperwork and are concurring committee members.
Do we have a second for safety and security?
I'll second.
Dave, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're done with safety and security. Strategic Planning Committee.
I have Sandy, excuse me, Sandy, I'm probably mispronouncing your last name, Emaljian, Jack Pounds, Kathy Conway, and we're asking Marilyn Stout to be an advisor so that she can build upon the work that she's done. And then I also have, well, I have two outstanding, I'm waiting on applications, Jerry Kern and Dave O'Donnell.
Okay, so we'll wait till
Till,
April.
right.
Okay. So do we have a second for the Strategic Planning Committee?
I'll second that.
Lynn Smith, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Moving on, Amenities and Gym Committee.
Okay, amenities, the chair is Rob Purcell. Members Craig Snyder, Chris Clint, Stan Toro. And if Rob is there tonight, could you give me another name we discussed, please?
Jack Clint.
I had Jack.
No.
No, yeah.
Connie Snyder, Jack Clint, Chris Clint, Stan Toro, and Chairman is Rob Purcell, and you're the liaison.
Okay. Okay. Good. Yes, you're right. Jack and Chris Clint. Right. Thank you.
All right. And John, to be consistent with what we're doing with Maryland, Steve does not need to do paperwork for this.
Okay.
As a former board member, we're extending that courtesy to him.
Okay.
All right. Do I have a second for the Amenity and Gyms Committee?
I'll second.
All in favor for the Amenities and Gym Committee membership, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. All right, for neighborhood rep liaisons, we are adding 2 new liaisons to the existing group. The first one is Lucy Nesto Cortez.
Spelled it wrong.
Pardon?
Spelled K is wrong. CAYE.
I understand.
That's, that one's not on.
Just have to correct you.
That one's not on Bill.
Okay.
And Donna Dunker is joining as a liaison for Land Bank Court. That's all I'm aware of right now, and obviously we're trying to get more people to fill in the holes that we have for the streets. Do we have a second for these 2 joining the neighborhood liaison group?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Thanks. Okay. All right, the next item of business is the committee reports. The first committee report is the Ad Hoc Communications Internet Committee. Steve?
As you're aware, we're just starting this whole process back up. We've got 4 years before we turn into a pumpkin. And there are a number of issues that we've got to address so that we don't end up at the end of the road with unacceptable service. So the committee is going to look at a number of things. One is we're aware now that there are some consultants that can take on the role that all the board, all the ad hoc committee members took on the last time. Took a lot of time, a lot of effort, and resulted in a really good bid that we have. So at least that's in the bank. But there are other options for us. So there are some consultants that we can interview. There are other technologies and companies that are willing to support the existing internet services that we have, called Quantum Fiber. And then there are also other companies that are willing to provide some other means of fiber communications on our site. So there are a lot of technical issues and logistical issues that we have to organize and come to grips with. I did get a note from our quantum rep, Shannon Tratham. After I sent her a note, I said, the last interruption we had, he told me it was cut out on Pine Island. And I said, our previous discussions about a year ago were that, no, we rerouted you, you're up through Burnt Store and across and over into Fort Myers, and that's the loop. So the vulnerability of getting things cut because of all the construction that's going on west of here wouldn't be as much of a problem. You never have a perfect world, but it should be better. Well, then the last cut was right before one of our major fiber junction and amplification points on Pine Island. Well, it was on Matlacha, but our major hub is actually on Pine Island. And so all the service that was supposed to be routed through that hub and come back down this way ended up being interrupted because the fiber cable was cut on Matlacha. And the idea was that would not be an issue for us in the future. So I have some, and the committee has some discussions that we need to have with our friends at Quantum Fiber in an effort to really get an engineering opinion on where are they rerouting us and can they reroute us to avoid these kinds of things. So that's our day-to-day life. We're going to be reestablishing our monthly meetings with Quantum and their engineers to address these kinds of things so we can try to beat this in the submission. Any other questions that I can answer for the crowd? Does the board have any questions?
Okay.
All
Thank
set.
you, Steve.
Okay.
Okay, landscaping.
All right. Juniper started the bulk landscaping on March 1st. They also held a town hall this past Monday where they basically introduced themselves and explained their services and introduced their work order system. Since they've been in here for just under a month, there have been a few glitches. But I met with the account manager today and we went over that, and he assured me that some of these issues that we discussed have been corrected, and moving forward, it won't be any problem. I think once they get into a routine, it's going to be a little easier for them. They're still learning their way around, and since they're not cutting weekly, there's been mistakes. Starting next month, they will be cutting every week for all the residences. They have a work order system that's going to be very helpful to the landscape committee and management, because it will allow a handful of people to go in and generate reports so that we can go in and look and say, is there an issue with sprinklers? If there's an outstanding number of work orders for sprinklers, we can meet with them and find out why. So it's going to be beneficial to us down the road. The landscape committee is finalizing the bids for common area restoration, and I hope to present that to the board at next month's meeting. And that's it, unless anybody has questions.
Do we have any board members have questions for landscape? Okay. All right. Communications. The communications committee met on March 14th. And at that meeting, the main thing that we did at that meeting was to set the goals for 2024. The first main goal was to maintain streaming of board of director meetings, start videotaping special speakers, post the general manager's monthly board of director reports to Sandoval and to put all those reports on Live Sandoval and on the Coral Facebook page. They will continue to support lifestyle events, support activities with photography, and share those media with the Facebook pages. We'll update Live Sandoval daily and continue to proofread the entire site for consistency and improve and upgrade some of the graphics and fonts associated with that site. Update the Cape Coral, our Sandoval Cape Coral Facebook page daily. One of the main things we talked about was the efforts it would take to revive the Sandoval Today newsletter. So one of the things that we are looking at is that if there's any members of the community that would be interested as a volunteer to start looking at helping the communications committee put a newsletter back in place for the community, please reach out to Denise about that. The other thing is that we're going to start establishing connections to realtors that have business in our community to understand what we can do from a marketing perspective to help improve the attractiveness of Sandoval as a community. And one of the side activities that Denise has been very active in is pursuing Sandoval resident discounts with merchants in Cape Coral, such as Sherwin-Williams, where she was able to get that reestablished, Paradise Deli, and Keg and Cow. And we're making sure that all the information is available on the Live Sandoval. Any questions? Okay. Art committee.
Yes, Art Committee, was provided some information from our chairperson, Martha Tubbs. Applications are slowing down. The committee met twice, the first Saturday and second Saturday of March. We had 39 total applications for the month, and we've had 481 applications total since September 22 with the occurrence of Ian. I would just like to take an opportunity to stress to the community that it is important that we follow the architectural review process. The guidelines and such for each and every neighborhood is listed on with Sandoval. Very important that folks adhere to the decisions by the art committee, bring those appeals to the board as requested, and please comply with those decisions. The overall goal of the association and the art review process is to help us to maintain the values of our properties. That's all the comments that were provided.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Andrew? Okay. Amenities. Okay.
Committee is Rob there?
No, our Chris will do it.
Maybe can go and I think I have a skip one.
All right, so
We'll get to social. Okay.
I already mentioned to the members of the committee, we discussed issues like with the dog park, including problems associated with the chairs that are all around the grass and areas that have to be moved by the landscapers and it become an issue. We think getting stackable plastic chairs is going to help that and be much more cost effective than getting a concrete slab for them to sit on. We've also been asked to bring back the Welcome Sandoval sign. And the monument at the veterans entrance is not an option due to the expense to move the sign. And most likely it won't even hold up if we try and move it. So we're suggesting we get the wooden signage similar to the for sale signs and just have Welcome to Sandoval on one side and, see you next time on the back. And we'd be putting those at each of the entrances. We have confirmed that we have loaner equipment for many of our amenities available 7 days a week for the community. And these amenities include frisbee golf, horseshoes, bocce, volleyball, basketball, and soon we'll have pickleball equipment also. And finally, we're looking into constructing a storage area for the chairs and the chair racks to open up some area in the Pelican building. We're proactively looking for an architect in case we need one. And hopefully we can find an architect maybe in the community that would be willing to step up and help us out with that, either at a discount or free would be nice, just in case we need one. That's it.
Questions for
Any
Benedict?
questions?
Just a comment, the veterans sign or the monument,
Yeah.
have we looked at what the cost would be just to take it away or have it removed?
We had to move it was like $4,000.
That's ridiculous.
Just to take it away and get rid of it. We haven't looked at that yet.
Yeah, I would strongly suggest it's becoming more and more an eyesore that we look at
Yeah.
just to get rid of it.
Chris, I have a question.
Yeah.
Have there been other options looked at besides those wooden? Only because this is the entrance, this is what we look like when you're entering Sandoval,
Yeah.
and this is the face. Oh,
Oh, we're open to any suggestions.
okay. I don't have a suggestion, but I'm asking
Yeah,
that
constructive criticism is always welcome.
because, yeah.
So Chris, so the action item is for you to work with the general manager on getting a quote for removal of that pedestal.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
All right. My apologies. Social.
Not a problem.
We have time to give the social report.
Yes.
One of the big events are coming up this Saturday, and that will be Easter. We have 40 volunteers here on Wednesday the 20th, filling over 5,000 eggs, so children have a wonderful time. We are looking into a possible Seder event to be held here in the clubhouse to educate people on those things that were going around the Seder plate and what they all represent. We are looking with Robert Sites into proceeding with pickleball instruction, working through all the things that we need to do with that. Mother's Day is going to have a high tea. Summer activities have been discussed, which includes a pizza party at the end of the school year. We've successfully just passed through 2 Broadway events, which was Elvis and Beautiful. We are also looking at a escape room, which actually be 2 escape rooms in this building that would be able to have families or people just go through it and try to escape and get out. Some of you we're going to be looking at a silent disco, which is a set of homes. It's 3 different musical tracks to play through it. And of course, it would be dancing in this particular which I like to tell you Bruce.
Silent.
We're just watching the people singing different songs.
Great.
And
Any questions for Tom?
And as you already heard about the 5K, that's also
Well, and Tom, you did miss one event that occurred a couple of weeks ago. And that was
I did run a resident-led event a couple March 17th, the Red Sox Yankee baseball game. We had 2 people there, great success.
By the way, who won that?
Win the Red Sox.
Thank you, Tom.
Any question, I'll ask you.
Any questions? Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Yes. Safety and security.
Safety and Security Committee met last week, and just to let you know, there's 3 calendar days left to complete the questionnaire that is out there. So so far the return is very good. Other than that is so complete. All it is.
Thank you.
That's all from them.
Any questions for Lynn?
Do you guys have a percentage of how many residents have responded so far?
You know, I thought about that somebody was gonna ask that.
Well,
That's why, actually, it was, well, last week, last Thursday to be exact, Christine reported that it was, well over the required amount.
Did she say it was 351?
Uh, she
I
said,
think, yeah.
actually, we had had, I think it was, I don't wanna guess, it was in the 400s.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we were, and more was, coming in regularly, and that was a week ago, so,
Good.
Sounds like a good sample.
Yeah,
yes, it is.
Yeah. good starting point for discussion with the community.
Absolutely. And,
Good.
of course, there's going to be a town hall meeting to be scheduled, right?
Yes, we're looking to have a town hall meeting scheduled in the May timeframe. Where the primary focus of that town hall will be to discuss
The
the
results.
different, the response to the survey and the recommendations by the Safety and Security Committee, and have a dialogue with the community about those recommendations before we present them to the board.
And I think that this might be a good time to talk about what you might be able to have in addition in place for those who won't be here in May.
It's a TBD. We are working on trying to make sure that there is a way for remote residents, especially as the snowbirds start to head back north when it warms up, that they can still participate in the town hall meeting. We're still working on trying to see how we can get that technology working to make that happen. So, and we're going to use that town hall as sort of like a dry run for that going forward.
Which would
Okay.
be great. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And I've been looking forward to this one. Finance.
oh, you skipped
You
Lakes.
skipped late.
Lakes, I'm sorry. Okay.
Have you been travel? There used to be an old saying about, does the carpenter's wife have cupboards? Does the cobbler's children have shoes? Does the president's wife have information? I'm just saying, I wanted to add a new one.
Thank you.
She's, the expert. She's had lots of stuff going on, and I'm fast forwarding, learning all about what they're doing. But it's good stuff. Go ahead, please. Thanks, Jane.
Okay, the Lakes Committee, the next meeting is April 11th. And I always said that all our minutes are posted to the website, the Lakes page. The big thing we're working on now, we have 3 quotes from 3 different vendors to do lake shore repairs. We have several areas of shoreline and community that are they really need repair at this point. But we're looking at a long-term solution to this. They can't all be fixed at once. There's just too much area that's in need of repair. We're looking at 2 different types of repair at this point. One is the SOC system, which is the type of repair that was done in Calypso Park. The other is called the hybrid shell system, which is a very different look. And at this point, we need to go to where each of these vendors have done this repair in the past and evaluate that and talk to other communities that have had this done. We are looking for new members for the Lakes Committee. We could use a few more members. And the schedule for the Lakes Committee meetings through the end of the year are also on the webpage. No questions from the board?
Questions for Lakes Committee? Okay, thank you. All right, now finance.
Should have skipped finance. Finance, there's not a lot to report. I mean, the last meeting we had this past Tuesday, we mainly discussed the Ashbury Circle sidewalk with no numbers yet.
Yeah.
That there's really nothing else to report.
All right. Okay, covenants.
The
Sorry,
covenant,
before we move on, do we have any questions for finance? Okay, covenants.
The Covenants Committee met on Thursday, March the 21st, with Chairman Tom Busada and the committee. The committee basically ratified the 10, I can't remember the number, it was either 10 or 12 fines for violations. Those all went through with no problem whatsoever. I'm going to take a book or a page out of Andrew's playbook just to remind folks that a couple of things that were in these violations. Mulch color is very important. Make sure you're in compliance. We're still struggling with dirty roofs. Trash cans visible from the street. This is one I don't think, I think every neighborhood has this problem to some degree. So keep your eyes on that. And we also have some folks that still have hurricane shutters up almost 2 years after Ian. So those are kind of the four things. And again, taking a page from Andrew's playbook, it's very important that folks be proactive. If you can look at your house and think that it needs some maintenance, the time is to do it now because Chris is really starting to get out there and start doing the compliance work. So that's good news for all of us. That's all I have on covenants.
Good. Any questions for covenants? Okay. Risk management.
Risk management, we continue to work with our insurance professional regarding our liability policy. And also we're trying to modify our vendor agreements to make sure they match our new commercial general liability policy. So there's some modifications to that. The other thing that we are working with is a third-party vendor called Certificial. I briefly talked about this previously. This is a vendor that would handle all of our certificates of insurance. It leaves no doubt in mind in regards to vendors who do work on site that they have proper insurance coverage at the levels that we desire. It takes all of the human element out of it. And hopefully I'll have something ready to go on that in the next 2 weeks so that we can bring that on board here probably before May 1st. So that's good news. My only other comment is, there continues to be questions on liability insurance. Some of the keys, if there's participants that are outside of the property owners of Sandoval, we do need the liability insurance. That would be vendors, contractors, and service providers. And we do have the outlet to purchase one-day event policies if there's special activities that need the coverage. And all of this is being done to comply with the requirements of our community liability policy. That's all I have.
That's it. All right. Any questions for risk management? Okay. And last but not least, strategic planning.
So because of work conflicts with our chair, we were not able to meet this month. However, today I had an opportunity. One of the things that strategic planning committee is heavily involved in is looking at what is happening outside of our doors. What's positive, what's negative, how is it going to impact our community? So today I had an opportunity to meet with a Sharon Woodbury. She gave a presentation at the German American Club about what's coming to Cape Coral. So she listed several things. And I asked her if she would be willing to come and do a presentation for Sandoval, of which she said that she would. And yeah, she'll give us a list of all the things that are happening outside of Sandoval, what's coming to Sandoval. Very informative.
Good.
So,
All right. Good. Sounds like that'd be a good idea. Any questions for strategic planning? Okay. That ends committee reports. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. We have 2 board meetings scheduled. The next board meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 1st at 4:30 p.m. That is an executive closed meeting. Then I called and there is an error in the minutes or in the agenda that was sent to the community. The meeting is scheduled for 4:30 p.m. The other meeting is our regular April board meeting, which is scheduled for Thursday, April 25th at 6 p.m. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Someone's gotta make a motion.
Oh,
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Now we have time for anybody who'd like to have further dialogue. Please step up.
Tony Capello, 2553 Asbury Circle, on behalf of the residents of Asbury Circle and all the community, I'd like to thank the board for approving that sidewalk. I live right at the entrance from Dawn. All day I see people walking, jogging, riding bicycle. Who knows, turn wheel stroller, pushing their babies to the job. It's not just the people that live on that stretch and bottoms around, or the entire circle, oh, Sandoval. We're facing possible tragedy. If you haven't walked there at night, do it before the sidewalk is this. Put your life in the hands of the people coming around that curve.
Yeah.
You can't see you, and you can't go down the curve. Possible too late. Do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good. Do any other residents want to have any comments or questions for the board? Okay, thank you very much. And thank you to Vic and Jack for your support for the meeting.